Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard
Colin Richardson.
and welcome back to some more NFL talk. Of course, we have more to update you on as this is probably the most fun day in the NFL season until we get to the playoffs, and that is deadline day in the NFL. I woke up around 10:30, 11, and I was kind of waiting on my class to start, and then I realized today was deadline day. I didn't even know it, and then I saw some trades start rolling in, and I was like, oh, it's deadline day, and I was just thinking that it wasn't the right day of the week for that to be happening. But when they started pouring in, we saw some big ones. We will cover most of them here, or all of them actually, that happened on deadline day. And we've even got the trades from the beginning of the year, so should be a fun breakdown. Before we dive into those, obviously I'll say like, subscribe, comment, helps a ton when you guys do that. Boost the channel out to others. Got more content coming. Should have a mock draft for the NFL coming out very, very soon. Have it filmed, just not edited. Probably will get that posted either with this video. You might look for it to come out at the same time, or it might come out Thursday when my normal college football videos come out and get some talk on the draft. Also, look for some more NBA content. We'll be doing that pretty soon. But we'll go ahead and dive into these trades, and we'll just start off with the first one down here at the bottom. Trade that happened way early in the season before Bigsby ever played a snap for the Jags this year. And that's Tank Bigsby going over to the Eagles for a fifth and a sixth round pick. Nothing super special about this trade. The Jaguars, of course, drafted Bashal Tutin. Props to the tech man down there. So they had their backup running back, and ETN was actually playing pretty good for them in preseason, and he's actually had a pretty decent year. So they didn't need to have him around, and they got two picks out of it. So pretty valuable for the Eagles. You're happy to have a backup running back that's the level of Tank Bigsby. He's actually had a really good game when they didn't have Saquon in there because of the score, and so you just kind of feel like pretty even for both teams. It's not like the Eagles need the picks. So good, decent straight swap there. Picks for a player. Colin, your thoughts on that one quickly?
Yeah, not a huge trade, but looks like the Eagles are just looking for someone to fill in when they lost Kenneth Gainwell, really. So I think Tank Bigsby is a quality running back, especially for a backup. And then you get for the Jaguars, like you said, Bashal Tutin, and they get a fifth and sixth rounder out of somebody that probably wasn't going to get to play much. So you
Yep.
can definitely be happy with that as a Jags fan.
100%. And on this next one here, the Patriots kind of gave up on the Jalen Polk gig that they had running out there. They sent him over to the Saints. The Saints, of course, acquire a seventh round pick with that, and they send over a sixth. Not a big trade there. Not too much to talk about. I don't know if you have anything to say. Otherwise, we'll just keep on rolling.
Yeah, we can keep going.
All right, we'll move on to the next one here. Me as a Titans fan, I'll break this one down just a little bit more. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., a late round pick that we made last year that actually played really meaningful snaps for the Titans during the season last year, and then coming into this year was one of our starters, and he was playing some decent football. We do get a sixth round pick out of this, but to me, this is very undervalued for the way he was playing. He's a young corner on an extremely cheap contract. The Jets think they'd probably be pretty happy with that. I will say the one thing behind the scenes that has been said about this move is that Jarvis Brownlee didn't fit the system, and it's not necessarily the on the field play. It was the culture issue in the locker room. He just wasn't one of those guys that like to listen, or things like that have been said. So again, me don't know the truth of behind that, but if that is the reason, then I don't mind getting rid of a non-culture fit. But again, this is very valuable for the Jets. You got a good corner who's still really young. He made a lot of big plays for the Titans last year. He does have maybe the culture issue is true because he does get a ton of penalties. He gets penalized more than any corner I've ever watched, but he's good in coverage. So he has his flaws, and he was a late round draft pick, and the Titans recoup a late round pick. You got anything to say on that one?
Yeah, like you said, if he's not a good culture fit, that's not what you want in Tennessee right now, especially with them trying to rebuild. You want to get a good culture. And then for the Jets, they're in need for a corner after today, so
Yeah.
not bad for them.
Yep, and again, Jarvis Brownlee can get some big snaps now without their number one, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Moving on to this next one here, the Browns bring in Cam Robinson and a seventh and send over a sixth to the Texans. Texans, do you think your offensive line is awesome? Because I would say otherwise, and you're now trading away another offensive tackle. So before the season even started, they get rid of Laramie Tunsil. Think they've been feeling the impacts of that. CJ Stroud has been brought down a ton, faced a little bit of an injury scare early in the season. He's luckily been able to play and has played well as of late, but just getting rid of another lineman didn't make a lot of sense. And if you're the Browns, it does make sense to try to protect, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, whoever you're going to play throughout the season. You want to have some offensive linemen in there just to help keep those guys up and stable. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Cam Robinson has been playing some for the Browns, so
Yeah.
a good trade for them. And then Texans, like you said, the offensive line is definitely not their strong suit. Not sure what they were doing there, but I think offensive line is really important for the Browns right now because the offense is atrocious, and
Yeah.
they need to protect their young quarterbacks for sure.
Yep. And moving on to this next one, before we get to these top picks, you could argue this has been the most impactful, most important trade. The Bengals, they go out and get Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco, for a 40 plus year old quarterback, has literally been a beast in this Bengals offense. He just threw for 470 yards, which of course we'll talk about during our recap. He is not the problem with the Bengals. And I think somebody said, Joe Shiesty knows the effects of the defense. Now Joe Flacco gets to fill them. And it is a bad, bad problem that the Bengals have with this awful defense. If you're the Browns, why did you trade this guy in division? I guess if you wanted to get off the contract and you wanted to clear off of just him and get a pick out of it, I guess. But all they got was a 1 round sooner pick for a quarterback that clearly looks like you could have got more value out of him, even at 40 plus years old. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I wish the Browns did not make this trade in division because the Bengals have looked like their offense has looked unstoppable
Yes.
since this trade has been made. Joe Flacco has been absolutely incredible. Arguably, him and Aaron Rodgers, he's probably the last 3 weeks has probably played better than Aaron Rodgers,
It's been
both
great, man.
up there in age. If you could combine the two teams that are in this trade, that would be an incredible team with the Browns defense and the Bengals offense. That would be something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about two teams here that, they tried to address the needs on the both sides of the ball, and they just didn't do it. Like the
Yeah.
Bengals, of course, go out and make a couple moves in free agency, but nothing important, nothing that really changed the team. They tried to make a draft pick to do that, and so far that hasn't really helped them out at all. For the Browns, like you said, their offense is just it's atrocious to watch. They tried to fix that by going out and drafting a really good running back who I think still looks solid, but he's already faced some injuries and then trying to get Flacco in there, but it just the team isn't good enough for him to have a lot of success. So interesting in division trade for sure. Um, and if you're a Bengals fan, I guess you just got to hope the defense improves. For the Chargers in this next one, they go out and get Odafe Owe. Actually, a pretty good trade, in my opinion. I do know that the Baltimore Ravens desperately needed some secondary help due to all the injuries that they've had. So they go out and get Alohi Gilman, who I don't think is playing tons of snaps for them, but he has depth in that. And they obviously got a better pick too, a fifth instead of a seventh, going back to the Chargers. And if you're the Chargers, you had edge rusher question marks. Odafe Oweh's played pretty good. He just had 2 sacks, and so I mean, great job by them going out and get a guy that had a pretty good year last year, and he is a decent player. I think that's a solid trade for them. They could definitely help them make a little bit of a run with the improved defensive play. Your thoughts on that one there?
Yeah, as a Steelers fan, I've definitely saw Odafe Oweh. He's made some plays against Pittsburgh. I'm not too sure about Alohi Gilman. I haven't really saw him play too much, but I guess fair trade. You get a fifth and Alohi Gilman, and like you said, in a spot that you need some depth. So fair trade there. But I think the Chargers, Oweh can definitely he can make an impact on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, he's had 2 sacks against the Titans and then had a sack in the game before that. So 3 sacks in 3 games with the Chargers. That's really good production. You're not trade. I mean, you're happy with that trade for sure. Good move from them. When you go to this next one here, one of the more interesting trades we've had. The teams just swap corners, and I guess you could argue maybe just to fit their scheme better defensively. One corner fits that Browns defense better, whereas the other fits the Jags. So that's really just a straight swap in corners. You do get the sixth and the seventh round pick getting moved as well. Greg Newsome, a guy that had a lot of potential at one point in time, just hasn't really been all that great. So overall, I think this is just kind of an even trade. Not too much to talk about with that one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, I was watching the Browns game the day or so after the trade was made, and they said it was more of a scheme fit type of thing. I will say, Tyson Campbell for the Browns, they put him on DK Metcalf, and he had only been with the Browns for like 2 days, and he actually did a pretty good job guarding him.
Good move for them then. If you get a guy that can go out and guard a number one receiver for a game, you're not too mad about that. Moving up to this next one here, Rams, Titans. This is a trade again. I don't think the Titans got as much value as they could have got out of this trade. It's funny. We talked about it when we recovered or recapped the games. The Titans have traded away their two top guys in the corner position, and L'Jarius Sneed's been out. So they have none of their starting corners from the start of the season on the field. We are literally running out practice squad guys. So if you want to know why this team is 1-8, that's the reason why. But McCreary, who is a really good slot corner, was a great corner at his time at Auburn, led the SEC in pass deflections when he was there, has now come into the NFL and continued his success. He is not an outside corner by any means. You cannot put him out there. He will get exposed. But in the slot, he is really, really good and does his job. So overall, I think this is a really good trade for the Rams. They get a lot better with a simple move, and all they had to give up was a conditional fifth-round pick. For the Titans, you weren't going to pay the guy, so I get it. You don't usually want to pay slot corners. It's just a thing you don't do. So I get it. You got a fifth round pick, but it probably ends up not being that valuable of a pick. And I wish you could have got a little bit more for a slot corner who's pretty solid. One of the better slot corners, especially at his age. I do think the Rams will probably end up extending him and holding on to him. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with Roger McCreary, but like you said, he's a pretty good slot corner, and I think the Rams definitely. I mean, most teams could use a some extra corner help,
Yeah.
and then if you're the Titans, you're not going to pay him, so you might as well get something out of him while you can. So, I think a fair trade there.
Yeah, and this next two here, we'll talk about them both since it includes the same team. I'll let you talk a little bit more about the Steelers side of things, but I'll start us with the Niners trading getting Keon White in a seventh round pick for the Patriots to get a sixth. Basically, the Patriots didn't need Keon White; he wasn't playing for them. And the Niners, with their edge issues, the injuries that they've already had, Keon White can maybe come in and be a beneficial part of that team. And then for that next trade there, of course, a sixth rounder going back to the Patriots. And you guys got Kyle Duggar. You can go ahead and give me your thoughts on that Steelers trade.
So Kyle Duggar actually had to play quite a bit this past game against the Colts because Deshaun Elliott and Jabril Peppers were both hurt. So I think they did a pretty good job. He did a good job stopping the run. They were able to kind of shut down Jonathan Taylor, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
And they really didn't have to give up much for him. They got a seventh, gave up a six, and they get Kyle Duggar. So I think they get pretty good value for him. He had some good years with the Patriots, so if they can kind of revert him back to his good years with the Patriots, I think you can really get some value there for just giving up a six-round pick.
Yeah, and overall, that was the Patriots clearing off two contracts they didn't want anymore. And then for the two teams that received those players, good value, good depth, and the ability to help out those teams in positions that they desperately needed. I do think that Duggar was a good move. I think we talked about it when they made that move. I actually liked it a decent bit and said that could help them out a little bit, especially now with all those injuries. Moving on to this next one here. The Eagles, they picked up the phone and just made three straight trades before everybody else could make a move. That's Michael Carter going to the Eagles and a seventh for John Mechie and a sixth. Of course, John Mechie, a receiver that was awesome in his days in college, has not had that success in the NFL. And Michael Carter, this is not the running back Michael Carter. This is Michael Carter the second, who plays corner. He'll move over and start or play some corner potentially for the Eagles. They've had their issues at corner just because of injuries. They have some great corners, but with those concerns, they had to go out and make a move. Again, this one isn't a huge trade. I think their next one kind of trumped this trade too. But quickly, if you have thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think for the Jets, maybe if they can get John Mechie back to how he was somewhat in college, I think it could be a good trade for them. And then the Eagles are getting a depth piece there.
Yep, and again, it doesn't hurt when you're as good as they are to just move some draft picks around and get some depth at the player positions. The next one here seems like this one could be the guy that actually plays some corner for him in Jair Alexander. Now, of course, he is not the same guy he used to be, but he wasn't having a horrible season for the Ravens. They only send over a sixth round pick and get a seventh, so they didn't really move too far back in the draft, and they get a corner that could help them out a little bit. Again, more of a depth piece, and your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, another corner, kind of a depth piece, like you said. For the Ravens, he wasn't having a terrible year, but I guess the Ravens were ready to move on from him. So just some more cornerback depth there for the Eagles.
Yep, and this next one here, of course, this is a big one. You get Jalen Phillips going to the Eagles. This is a big, big deal. I like this trade a ton for the Eagles. for a team that really doesn't need help to be a good football team, they only send over a third round pick and get one of the better edge rushers available at the deadline. I think he might have been the best edge rusher moved. I believe he was. So he was being shopped pretty heavily, and the Eagles won that bidding war and send only over a third round pick. Again, that's a valuable pick for the Dolphins who are trying to fix things and rebuild. But Jalen Phillips is a great player. I love that move for the Eagles. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, a really good move there for the Eagles to get a really good edge rusher. He does have some injury concerns,
Yep.
which what to look out for. But then if you're the Dolphins, you get a third rounder. You're not going to win this year. I actually think they probably should have done more at the deadline than what they did do. So not a terrible trade for them moving on from Jalen Phillips.
This next one here is going to kind of fly under the radar a little bit for you if you are not as big of a fan of some of these teams because you don't know the players. The Titans are one of those teams that a lot of people don't know the players. But Draymond Jones, he created trade value for himself out of nowhere. He went on a run over the last 4 games where he had 4.5 sacks and become the Titans' best edge rusher and immediately generated interest at the deadline. This one I do love for the Titans. I think this is a great move. This is an aging veteran edge rusher that you are not going to bring back next year. And you got a conditional fifth round pick that can move up to a fourth round pick. A fourth round pick is a valuable pick. For me as a Titans fan, I know that very well. You know who we got in the fourth round last year? Chimere Dike, who could be an all pro player. Alec Aominer, who's our number one receiver right now, and Gunnar Helm, who's going to be our starting tight end next year. So the fourth round has a lot of value in it. If that pick moves up into the fourth round, I love this deal for the Titans. And then if you're the Ravens, you're not a team that needs a ton to rebuild. You honestly just need to be healthy and get back into things. Tons of injuries have really set them back. They do get Draymond Jones, who again in this conditional trade, he has to have 2 sacks, which again he had 4.5 in 4 games. It feels like he could do that for them. And then they have to make the playoffs. That's the big thing. As a Titans fan, I never want to pull for the Ravens to make the playoffs, but I would love another fourth round pick. So I am either way actually kind of happy because if the Ravens miss the playoffs, it's the Ravens miss the playoffs, and I'm happy about that. If the Ravens make the playoffs, the Titans get a better pick. So I'm not complaining too much. I do like this move for the Titans. And for the Ravens, again, you get an edge rusher who's on a really good hot streak, who just had 4.5 sacks in 4 games. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think if you're the Ravens, like you said, they've been injured all year, so it's definitely not going to hurt to get a really good edge rusher. Well, at least the past few games.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's not a bad move for them. However, for the Titans, I think that's an incredible deal, getting a fourth or fifth round pick for a guy that you weren't going to bring back. And like you said, I mean, he really hasn't done too much throughout his career
Yeah.
besides like the past 4 games. So getting that for him, I think is incredible.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he did that himself. He built that trade value, which for the player, as a Titans fan, I love it. I'm so glad he did that for just us, for as a team. But for a player as himself, he now gets to go try to compete for a playoff spot, which was not going to happen with the Titans. So for him, it's a positive. For the Titans, it's a positive, and for the Ravens, it's a positive. I think all around, this is just a feel good move for me as a fan, and probably for Draymond Jones as a player. Moving on to this next one here, an interesting trade. This is a move that just on paper, it seems like an absolute steal for the Cowboys based on how Logan Wilson played for this team a year ago. Even though he wasn't incredible, he's definitely more valuable than a seventh round pick. And for the Bengals, you're trading away a linebacker on a defense that has been, I mean, as bad as any defense in the NFL so far. It definitely is an interesting move. I know they weren't playing him, but maybe play him if your defense sucks. Maybe give him a chance. I don't know. There's some question marks here for the Bengals. And again, for the Cowboys, it's really just a complete who cares if you give away a seventh round pick? You might get a good linebacker out of it. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I don't know what the Bengals are doing not playing him to begin with. He had a really good year last year. He was a team captain, and he's just not playing. I'm not sure he can be any worse than what's out there for him right now. So I don't know why he wasn't playing. And then if you're the Cowboys, you give up a seventh round pick for I mean, a guy who was really good last year. So I think it's a steal for the Cowboys.
I mean, it makes you think there has to be some sort of underlying like circumstance here, like an injury that just isn't severe and he's trying to play through, or maybe there's a locker room issue. But other than that, this trade, I mean, again, him not playing at all makes no sense for the Bengals. Moving on to our next one here, Jacoby Myers goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a fourth and a sixth round pick in this upcoming draft. And to me, This is kind of a home run trade if you're the Jags. You go out and get a receiver who can be your number one with the lack of Brian Thomas this season, just not playing at the level you hoped he would play at, but also the injury to Travis Hunter where he will be out for a while. You go get Jacoby Myers, he becomes your number one guy. You're trying to make this playoff push. That to me seems like a great trade for the Jags. For the Raiders, you're telling me you couldn't get better than a fourth as the top pick you receive. I feel like if Draymond Jones drew a potential fourth round pick, Jacoby Myers could have drawn a better pick than just a fourth. Now, I know there's a sixth tied into that, so you do get two players for the price of one, but it just seems like it wasn't enough. I don't think it's a horrible move. I mean, the Raiders weren't going to win, so they did get off the money and they got him out of there for some picks, but I just feel like if you talk to the Bills, if you talk to the Chiefs, maybe even you could have maybe got a better pick from a team that was going to be a little bit better overall, willing to give up those higher draft picks. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm completely with you on this one. Brian Thomas has not been what he was last year, a bit of a sophomore slump for him. And then Travis Hunter's injury. So I think Jacoby Myers will fit right in. Jaguars are trying to make the playoffs this year. They haven't been terrible so far this year.
Yeah.
They actually played the Raiders this week. Got a nice win. So and then, like you said, with the Raiders, Jacoby Myers, he's not like an elite receiver, but
Right.
he's one of the better receivers in the NFL. And you just get a fourth for him, which is it, or a fourth and a sixth, which isn't ideal in my opinion. But they're not going to win this year, so I guess at least they get something for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like you could have probably just went and got a third and then like a third and a seventh, or maybe a
Right.
third and a future sixth, like a 27 or even 28, as we're seeing some of those get moved. We'll talk about in a minute. I just feel like they could have got more. I don't think it's a horrible trade, but I just think they could have got more. So, interesting move. Do think it helps the Jaguars if they want to make that playoff push. Jacoby Myers is a solid player, and actually should help him out a little bit in fantasy too, with Geno's interception woes. Maybe Trevor Lawrence can actually get him the ball a little bit more. We'll move on to this next one here, and here's your big one. Here's your move that we all should be talking about. It's Sauce Gardner, a top 10 corner in all of the NFL. 2 years ago, arguably the best in the NFL, had a little bit of a slump last year, but he's kind of gotten back to himself. And you get two first round picks if you're the Jets, as well as Adonai Mitchell, who has potential. I mean, this is in his second season, and he had injuries last year, so he didn't get to really prove how good he was. I think there's a clip out there somewhere if you want to look it up of Adonai Mitchell cooking Sauce Gardner, actually, believe it or not. So, AD Mitchell, again, a guy that has potential. He has culture issues. That's why he was not a first round pick when he was up for selection. So you can solve them if you're the Jets, hopefully, and you still get two first round picks. If you're the Colts, you think you're the best team in the NFL right now. And that's just straight up. You just think you're good enough to go out there and win a Super Bowl. You don't make this move if you don't think you are. I don't think it's the greatest trade in the world. I think you may have overpaid a little bit, but if you think you're that good, I never want to see a team just sit around and do nothing. So I love when a team tries to win. So if this is the move you make to try to win, do it. By all means, do it. So your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting one of the best, if not the best, corner in the NFL. You may have overpaid for him. I don't know that Adonai Mitchell was getting to play too much for the Colts,
No.
but he definitely has potential to be a really good wide receiver. And then you give up the two first rounders. It's just, I don't know. I guess the Colts are going all in this year.
Yep.
I will say there are some concerns with the Colts after this week, but I mean they're 7-2 at the end of the day, and they're still a really good football team. And then for the Jets, you're not going to win this year, obviously, and then you're able to get two first round picks, which is huge.
Yes.
First round picks are super valuable, so I think that's going to be big for them moving forward. And then I think both teams get some really good value
Yeah.
in this trade.
Yeah, and you look at it too with those first rounders. If you're the Colts, you're banking on winning a Super Bowl. That's what you're doing. So that pick's 32. That's pick 32. So it's not as valuable as if you had a pick number five or pick 10. We
Pretty much a
saw in
second
last
rounder.
year's Yeah, yeah, exactly. We saw in last year's draft that 15 through 60, we talked about it on our mocks when we did them. They're very similar in talent. When you're picking from 15 all the way down to 60 in the NFL draft last year, there was a ton of talent. College football is generating more and more talent than it ever has. So you have a chance to land guys in the second round at the back end of the second round. That pick might not be as valuable as if it was a bad football team. Now, again, if you're the Colts, What if Daniel Jones gets hurt? What if the bad things happen and those picks become super valuable? Or what if next year this is just a surprise season and he isn't the same player and that pick becomes valuable? There's all those question marks. If you're the Jets, I love this. I absolutely love this for the Jets. They are nowhere near winning football games. I mean, they are far, far, they're like the Titans. They are far away and they're probably even worse off because they don't have a quarterback. So when you're that far away, there's no point in keeping Sauce Gardner, who's going to be gone in 2 or 3 years. There's just no point in it. So you get a great deal, two firsts, and a receiver that was taken in the second round. So much potential coming from this trade. Absolutely love it. I would almost give them an A plus. I think they did the best they could do. And for the Colts, again, you said it once, I said it once. You're going all in, and if you go all in, this is the kind of move that can show that. So, like it for both sides. Love it for the Jets. Moving on to this next one here. This is another trade that I absolutely love. The Seahawks go and get Rashid Shaheed. Now, they did, for what Rashid Shaheed was 2 years ago, overpay a little bit. But Rashid Shaheed has looked pretty good. He's scored some really good long touchdowns. And we all know that Sam Darnold's having an unbelievable season. Go out and get him some receiver help and try to make a playoff push. This team looks really good. The Seahawks look like a good football team. Lockett was at the end of his run, and you had DK and you obviously had JSN last year. You could argue this receiving room upgraded, other than just losing DK, because JSN got better, and now Rashid Shaheed is clearly far better than Tyler Lockett has been for the last 3, 4 years. So overall, I think this is a great move for them. And if you're the Saints, you're a bad football team, and Rashid Shaheed is not going to be here forever. Don't hate this move at all. I think fourth and a fifth rounder, that's really solid for a guy that's never been a superstar by any means. So overall, good trade for both sides. You're the Seahawks, you want to win now, and if you're the Saints, you need to draft picks. I overall love this one. This is another one of those trades that it made sense for both sides. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this is a good move for the Seahawks. Getting Rashid Shaheed to pair up with JSN. He's kind of having a breakout year so far
Yep.
this year. And then for the Saints, I think you get like insane value. Well, not insane, but like we just discussed Jacoby Myers as a fourth and a sixth, and you
Yeah.
get a fourth and a fifth for a worse receiver.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this is a great trade for the Saints just going off of that. So I think both teams improve here. Well, the Saints don't improve yet, but I think they get really good value for Rashid Shaheed.
Yep, 100%. I fully agree with you. Again, a guy that just was kind of unproven, and he gets that kind of value for you. You love that for him as a player. He gets to go get and compete for a team that can win in the NFC. And then for this, again, for the Saints, you love that because he generated value for himself, kind of like what Draymond Jones did for the Titans this season. Moving on to this next one here, the Bears go out and acquire Joe Tryon Shoyinka. He is a pretty interesting piece to this team. I don't think it makes them much better, honestly. They do give up a 6th round pick and get back a seventh. Overall, this is one of those trades that we talked about earlier with like a trade down here with the Patriots getting rid of Jalen Polk. It doesn't make too much of a difference, I don't think, for this year's team. And again, if you're the Browns, you're horrible. Why not go get some draft picks and try to add some value to the team? I don't think he's all that great of a player. Looking into his statistics again, hasn't had a sack over the last few weeks, so don't know how much of a difference maker he can really be for this team. But if you're the Bears, you don't hate to add depth for a team that's trying to compete. And if you're the Browns, it's a draft pick. So your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest. As a Steelers fan, and I've watched the Browns, I have no clue who Joe Tyrone Shoyinka is.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you're the Browns, I guess you get a pick out of it, and
yeah,
then the Bears get some. I'm assuming it's going to be depth. I hope he's not starting for them,
yeah,
because I mean the Bears they've been pretty good this year, so
yeah.
I guess that's a depth piece there, and then the Browns get a pick. So
Yeah. Not too much to talk about there, but we now get into our next one that is a big, big deal, and that is Quinnen Williams going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, again, this Dallas team, they had a superstar. They moved him, and that decision come from Jerry. I will give them full props here. They went out and got a superstar. Quinnen Williams is a phenomenal defensive tackle. He's a young player that has a lot of time left in his career. He may not play as valuable a position as Micah, but he still brings a ton of value to this team. A much needed move for a defense that's been really getting killed. Points galore getting scored on this team. And if you're the Jets, you now have 3 first-round picks in 2027, including your own, which will probably be a decent pick. And then And who knows? The Cowboys might not get that much better. Who has it? We have no idea. I mean, Dak has always been a have a good year, have a bad year, have a good year, have a bad year. So who knows? And then a second from the Cowboys, who right now aren't a playoff team. And if they don't get better for making this move, you might have a top 50 pick maybe with that second rounder, and then your own pick plus the pick you traded for earlier. They have done a great job at just deciding to fully go into the rebuild. If you're a Jets fan, I know it sucks. It absolutely sucks to lose two guys off of a defense that 2 years ago was one of the best defenses in the NFL. And those guys are young and they're great players. But if you look at it in the big picture, you are absolutely building a draft capital that just cannot be, it can't be spoken about enough to how much draft capital they've just acquired in one short season of 8, 9 games, whatever we've played. They've increased their draft capital. They also get Mozzie Smith, who was a young player that was drafted by the Cowboys to try to be that defensive tackle. He clearly hasn't been that great. Otherwise, they'd have just held on to him and let him play. So maybe they can go change the scenery, can help him out. Maybe he can go down there and get better. Overall, I think again, A plus by the Jets. You are not winning in the next 2 to 3 years. There's no point in having that good of a defensive tackle on your team. And if you're the Cowboys, I can't give you an A plus because you could have just kept Micah Parsons, but I'll still give you a pretty good score here because I think you improved your defensive line in a big way, and your offense is scoring 1 million points. Go to try to stop some teams and make the playoffs. Overall, I think a good trade for both sides, but a great trade for the Jets. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Jets getting even more draft capital. That's three first round picks in 27. And I mean, the Cowboys, you never know with them. It's
Yeah.
their year every year, but it's never their year. So I'm not sure where they'll be picking. It could be high, could be low. But for the Jets too, you could have got more honestly out of the trade deadline. You have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall that you decided to keep, which I'm not sure if those guys are going to stay around once free agency hits. So that could have been even more picks. Honestly, you kind of feel for them having to stay in New York for the rest of this year, however long's left on their contract, because the Jets they've been decimated now. That's two really, really good defensive players that are just gone off the team. So you kind of feel for those guys.
Yeah, and you got to think this is them selling out to lose as many games as possible to get a quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you're looking at here. And if you don't, golly, please, Titans, be horrible. And you can go get that draft capital that they just got. Caleb Williams got 3 first round picks in his, or no, Bryce Young, 3 first round picks. And they drafted Caleb Williams with one of those, if you're the Bears. If Fernando Mendoza keeps doing what he's doing, or Ty Simpson steps it up enough to where they want to go make that trade and move up to the first pick, if you're the Titans, man, you could recoup so much draft capital by just, hey, picks up, guys, come down and get them because there's so many teams that might want that player. So I absolutely love it. I love it for the fact that if the Titans are the number one overall pick yet again, they can go out and fleece these teams for draft picks because we have our quarterback. We're not drafting one, and if they're as bad as they are, we're not going to move that far down the board either. We're going to be, moving down to 2 or 3, which means you still get a top 3 player in the draft. So just praying that the Titans can keep losing football games, which I don't want to say usually, but when you're 1-8, keep losing football games. Again, good move for both sides. I think it makes the Cowboys a lot better defensively, and for the Jets, this just shores up that future with more draft capital and even a young defensive tackle that can maybe get on the field now and play some for the Jets. Moving on to this next one here, we have the Chargers going and making a move for a former first round pick and Trevor Penning, who just never worked out for the Saints. And the Saints, they only get a 6th round pick, means you lost a lot of value on that draft pick, but he's also not been very good. If you are the Chargers, you have a good coach, you have a good development staff, maybe he can come in and develop, and you've lost your 2 offensive tackles for the season. Slater is done for the year at left tackle. Alt is done for the year at right tackle, who had shifted over and played some. With those two guys out, you have to have tackle depth if you want to make a playoff push. This is a good move from them. They only give up a 6th round pick in 2 years, even, not even next year's draft. And they get a guy that has obviously some high upside. He wouldn't have been a first round pick if he didn't have that. So maybe you find something and someone else's trash is your treasure. Your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah. I think for the Chargers, losing Joe Alt is huge. He's a really, really good offensive tackle. And then Slater, he's another really good offensive tackle as well. And then I think Penning, honestly, with those two injuries, he probably is going to start for the Chargers. And then if you're the Saints, he hasn't been very good. You're not very good this year, so you might as well get something out of him. And that's what they went and did. Got a 2027 6, which isn't too much, but I mean, I don't think he was going to stick
Right.
around in New Orleans anyway. So, like with a lot of these trades, you might as well get something out of them while you can.
Yep, I fully agree with you. Last trade here, kind of funny because a lot of these meant a lot, and this one just, who cares? Ja'Sir Taylor heading down to the Jets, a team that already acquired a Jarvis Brownlee from the Titans, so they're going out and just adding corners. The guy should get to play some because their corner's out the door, heading over to the Colts. They get the Chargers send him off for a conditional seventh, which means it could be a potential sixth in 2028. So won't see that player on the field anytime soon. Think this was just literally clearing some salary, getting off the salary of Ja'Sir Taylor. And for the Jets, why not take a shot on a young player? He can go out and play for you. It doesn't matter if he's bad or not, because if he's good, you gave up nothing. And if he's bad, you gave up nothing. So it doesn't mean anything to them at all. This is kind of just a last second clear the cap off if the Chargers. Your thoughts on that one?
Yep, this is kind of like a you can have him if you're the Chargers. I guess he wasn't really playing much. I don't know who he is. And then the Chargers, they get something for him. It's
Yeah.
not really much at all, but
Yeah.
I guess it's better than just losing the guy. So
Yep.
uh, I guess
100%.
not too much else to say about that move.
Yeah, no, it's probably a guy worth a seventh round pick. It's
Yeah.
so again, you get the value out of that, and I guess the condition here would probably be Ja'Sir Taylor staying and playing for the Jets, and if it moved up to a sixth, even better. So overall, that is all your trade moves in general. Deadline day starting right here around what was it, Logan Wilson maybe that started today off, or Jacoby, I can't remember because the Titans we moved Draymond I think yesterday, so that wouldn't have been part of today's trade deadline, but. Overall, a really fun deadline day. In the NFL, you don't always get a great deadline day. These teams sometimes aren't really willing to move off their players. And today we got an awesome one. Quentin Williams, Sauce Gardner, Rashid Shaheed, Jacoby Myers, all really big names that can improve these teams that they're going to in a big way. So, last but not least, we'll quickly talk about what we think who was the winner and the loser of trade day. To me, the clear winner is the Colts because you're buying in. And it's just, as a fan base, you love to see that you're buying in. The other clear winner is the Jets by a long shot. You improve that farm system, as they would call it in baseball, by a long, long shot, man. I mean, you got so much better with all these future draft picks, even two young players that could maybe touch the field for you this year. Overall, love the day for the Colts, love the day for the Jets. If I'm talking about the biggest loser, it is no doubt the Miami Dolphins. You don't move off of any of those pieces, nothing. You can't get any value for anybody on a really bad football team. Jalen Waddle would have would have drawn a very good interest from the Bills, from the Chiefs, heck, the Steelers, any of those teams. And apparently they weren't even really shopping him. And Devon Achane, I get it. He's a young player. You don't want to move him. It's a running back. You're not going to be good in the next few years. How much longer does a running back have? You never know. Probably should have got some value off of him, and you have some defensive players that could have been moved. They're a big loser for me because they did nothing at all. They just sat around on their hands and watched. Again, they made the Jalen Phillips trade. Not a bad move overall, but in general, I just wish they'd done more. They have so many good pieces that they could have drawn a ton of draft value for. Who knows? They might need a quarterback, and they don't have the draft value to go get one. So overall, who would you say was your winner? Who was your loser?
For winter, I'm probably going to go with the Jets. I think they had an incredible trade deadline, getting so much value for those two. I mean, they're really good players, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to be around when the Jets are going to be competing, if they ever compete.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think this is huge. Like you said, it's almost if you compare it to baseball, that's like so much talent that you
Yeah.
just got on the farm with all these first round picks and then second round pick. Just a huge day for the Jets. And then for the loser, might be a little biased, but I'm going to go with the Steelers here. They got Kyle Duggar, which wasn't really on the deadline day. That was last week. But I think, man, they're like one receiver away on offense. Like you have Calvin Austin and you have
Roman Wilson.
Roman Wilson,
Yeah.
but I think you can go out and get, like you said, Jalen Waddle. I'm not sure if the Dolphins were shopping him around or not, But if not Jalen Waddle, why not Chris Olave or I don't know Rashid Shaheed? You don't have to give up too much for him. Jacoby Myers, just another receiver to pair with DK because teams are just focusing in on DK, and then you have to go to Darnell Washington as your leading receiver as a 6'7", 300 pounder. So I'm not sure that's ideal moving forward, but I guess it got the job done this week. But I just think they could have done so much more to improve the offense, and yeah, that's my biggest loser for the deadline.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a little bias behind it just because you're a fan of the team. You wanted to see them make a
Right.
move to compete, and I mean, they could have ran away with this division. And it's kind of just feels like they're slipping a little bit and letting team. Now, again, great week this week, awesome week. We'll talk about it in a second. But you lost some of those games before, and you could see the glaring issues, and to just not address them feels, like you said, a little bit like a kind of a punch in the face. Just come on, do something. Let A-Rod finish his career with some receivers. Because that's kind of always been A-Rod's thing is he has one guy and he never has anything else. So it kind of seems like the same situation potentially. I will say the tight ends are really, really great, but it's just hard to find a way to get three tight ends on the field at the same time. Maybe you could have moved one of those guys for like for added value from somebody. It just yeah, you're right. They didn't feel like they did enough, and you're telling me you couldn't give up a third? Just like maybe send a third over to the Raiders and just say, hey, give us Jacoby. We'll take Jacoby Myers to really improve this team. So I fully agree with you that the Steelers could have done a little bit more, but in the full scheme of things, I still think they're a good team. They wouldn't have done what they did if they if they didn't have a good team. We'll hop on over into our recap for the week, where we'll just start it off hot right here with Thursday Night Football, Ravens Dolphins, and this is why I said the Dolphins were huge losers. Is this team is embarrassingly bad? Why didn't you move some of those pieces that had some value? They go out and get beat 28-6. Tua looks like a terrible version of Tua once again. Think he just had a good week. I don't think he's actually a good player anymore. That week, last week I think it was, just kind of come out of nowhere. Reverts back to himself, and Lamar, he's officially back. Throws for 4 touchdowns, looks like Lamar Jackson, and they give him the MVP chance in the crowd, as it says there. But he clearly can't do that with the statistics that's going to be on the docket for him at the end of the season. If you are the Dolphins, again, Jalen Waddle, great player, probably could have got you a pretty good pick, maybe a couple good picks. You saw what Sauce Gardner was able to draw. Jalen Waddle might be a top 20 receiver. You could have got probably a first, maybe a couple seconds. But just overall, interesting way the Dolphins handled the deadline. And for the Ravens, they look like they're pretty good. They look like they've kind of got things rolling back again. They only added at the deadline. Draymond Jones, great piece to get. Can go out and start for some edge rusher for you. And you just need to get healthy. They got Derrick Henry going once again. So overall, great day from the Ravens. The Dolphins, they're the Dolphins. They're not very good. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm gonna sound a little crazy because it was 28-6, but honestly, the Dolphins had some chances to make this a game, and they just kept making mistake after mistake. For the Ravens, Lamar, he looked really, really good in his game back, and that is really scary for me as a Steelers fan because the Pittsburgh had been slipping a little bit, and now I think the Ravens and them are right in. The Ravens are within reach of the division now, and then Lamar, and then Derrick Henry. He had been struggling a little bit this year with Lamar out, and now he's looking like he's back. And then, like you said, with the Dolphins, they had so many pieces that they could have moved on from, and not just Waddle and Achane, but you have Minka Fitzpatrick on defense, which is another big piece that you could have moved on from, but. They're sitting at 2-7, and then I guess they're stuck with the team they got for the rest of the year now. So I guess we'll see moving forward what they can do.
Yeah, again, you're 100% right. A guy like Minka would have been a perfect piece for a really good defense or a really good team that needs defensive help to go out and grab. So it just didn't make the moves at the deadline, and the Ravens look like they have the potential to bounce back and make a push for the playoffs, which go Ravens, I guess. I want a fourth round pick. Move on to this next one here. We'll start our Sunday day slate with the Bears and the Bengals playing a game of the year candidate when it comes to just the offensive side of the ball. No defense. These two teams don't play defense sometimes, and the Bengals especially. We get a 47-42 final where Joe Flacco has his career best passing yards, probably the career best game of his entire career at 40 plus years old. This guy is aging like fine wine. Again, throws for 470 yards, four touchdowns. T. Higgins has a great day. Chase has a pretty good day. Chase Brown has a ton of receiving yards out of the backfield and has a good day. Unbelievable from the Bengals offense, even better from the Bears offense. Caleb Williams has some awesome plays in this one, especially that 58-yard touchdown pass to Loveland to basically win the game. And if you're Kyle Monunga, man, you go in that front office tomorrow and you say, "Hey, Ben, send DeAndre Swift somewhere else. I'm the guy." 176 yards in his first real chance with no healthy DeAndre, and he looks like a beast. If you watch this guy play in college, Kyle Monunga tore some teams apart. He is a beast of a running back. He's a little bowling ball, but also has that speed and has the ability to break tackles at a high level. I love this for the Bears. Monunga, Williams, Loveland, who makes the big catch. They got DJ Moore going. This is such a young team with a lot of fun pieces. No better coach could coach this team than Ben Johnson with all these different tools he's got. Great win from the Bears. And if you're the Bengals, man, after the promising win that you had 2 weeks ago, your defense is just losing you football games. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, this Bengals defense is just so bad. I really they focused on them in the draft. I'm thinking they drafted only defensive players and offensive linemen in the draft, and it still just wasn't enough. So the Bears, I mean, this is a good win for them. It kind of looked like you lost it there, and then
Yeah.
the touchdown there at the last minute of the game. For Joe Flacco, he's kind of like, I guess, rejuvenated his career, four
Yes.
touchdown passes and 470 yards. He did have the one pick six to Tremaine Edmonds, shout out former Hokie.
Sure.
Uh, and then, like you mentioned with Kyle Monangai, he was incredible. I don't know if he's going to be able to replace him, kind of like Rico Dowdle did with Chuba Hubbard in Carolina, just because of how good DeAndre Swift has been in his career. But it'll definitely, I think they definitely will give Monangai more carries than what he was getting before.
Yep.
That's for sure. And then another thing for the Bengals, I think T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have been loving Joe Flacco. I bet I'd say they're very happy that they traded Jake Browning, or didn't trade Jake Browning, but traded for Joe Flacco and benched Jake Browning because he has been insane since he's got
Yeah.
to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean he's incredible. He's literally been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL with the Bengals. It's not even a joke. He's throwing for 300 yards a game, and this one he goes for nearly 500. I mean, he's had the best passing game of anybody in football this year. So, just an unbelievable player, and doing it at 40 plus years old is absurd. I mean, we have again the Steelers with Rodgers at 40 and Flacco at 40, both just balling out. And it's like they're having their last two hurrahs probably. And again, if Flacco had been with the Bengals all year, this dude might have MVP votes. So great move from them. They just don't have a defense, and I don't know if that's going to change moving forward. On to this next game here, we have the Vikings taking on the Lions in what is a really impressive victory for the Vikings. JJ McCarthy has a pretty good game, has the two touchdown passes, but also just did his job, and he looked a lot better than he did, especially in that first game with the Vikings. If you're the Lions, you didn't play horrible football. Goff has a decent day, 284, two touchdowns. Laporta has an awesome day, nearly 100 yards and a touchdown, but you didn't get Jameson Williams really going all that much. He hasn't had a great season, really, truly at all. And then Amon Ra, I think, had some injury concerns at points in this game. So, question marks for sure with them. They didn't run the ball too well. The Vikings, they got the run game going with Jones, come back healthy finally, and McCarthy played really good, which is positive for this team. Your thoughts here on this one? A big win for the Vikings.
Yeah, this one was really surprising for me. I thought the Lions would for sure win this game
Yep.
with McCarthy starting. He actually had a really good game. He looked much better than he did
Yes.
before his injury. And then I was also surprised with this Vikings defense. They just shut down the run that had been incredible this year with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So that was a really good job by the Vikings defense there. Brian Flores led Vikings defense. I still think Pittsburgh should have kept on to him, hired him as the defensive coordinator rather than letting him leave. But anyways, Sam Laporta, he had a good year 2 years ago,
Yep.
and then last year he kind of I guess teams kind of focused more on him and didn't have as big a year, but it was good to see him get going again. And then I'm not sure about the Amon-Ra St. Brown injury concerns, but he did have a decent day. He had 97 yards, just no touchdowns. So I always keep up with him because I have him in fantasy. So
Yep. Yeah, I have him as well in a few leagues actually. But he just had like some questionable moments, went out of the game, come back in, went out of the game, come back in. So I don't think it's going to be anything too lingering. I think he finished the game, which is important, of course. But I think he'll get that questionable mark. You know how that is in fantasy. He'll have it until 2 minutes before kickoff, and then they'll be like, he's not playing.
right.
And it's just impossible to take him out. So we'll
Well,
have those question
speaking
marks.
of fantasy, I got the better of you this
You
week.
did. Sadly, my team they slowed down after the 2 wins in a
Yeah.
row. I knew the team couldn't get 3 wins in a row. We are called Mayday for a reason. Drake May is my only hope, and Drake May didn't have the greatest game ever because again he had did that last week. The week before he scored like 40 or whatever it was. So yeah, we didn't get that good of a performance from Mayday this week, taking the L to Con Man. But I'm hoping to get out of that last spot place in that league. I got a couple teams I can catch up to maybe. Moving on to this next one here. Panthers, Packers. The Packers just don't play great offense in this game by any means. I think McManus missed some kicks as well, which is a big deal in a game where you lost by 3. Jordan Love throws the interception, has no touchdowns. I do know that Jacobs had a decent game, but again, you're not out rushing Rico Dowdle, the best running back in the NFL. I mean, not really, but man, if this dude had been getting 20 plus carries a game from day one, he literally might be leading the league in rushing yards. He is top 5 right now, and he's played in like 5 games out of the oh well they've played 9, so he's only played in like 5 games. They give him 84% of the snaps this week. No duh, he's better than Chuba. It was pretty obvious when he went for 200 yards back to back weeks, and then you put him on the bench and he gets 9 carries and still averages 7 yards a carry. So great move by Dave Canales to let Rico come back in and play, and he pretty much wins you this football game because you're not getting much out of the Red Rifle at the quarterback position. And Rico Dowdle, what a day. 2 touchdowns, 130 yards on 25 carries. Absolute bell cow. For the Packers, again, you get a healthy Romeo Dobbs. You get a not healthy Tucker Kraft, who is going to end up missing the rest of the season. That is a huge blow to them. Tucker Kraft, I mean, you said it yourself. He single handedly beat the Steelers. And if they don't have Tucker Kraft, they don't win that football game. So who knows what the Packers look like the rest of the year? They're still really good. They're 5-2-1, shouldn't really be the biggest concerns. You still think you're a playoff team, but those losses are going to start piling up, and you can't lose these kinds of games against a team like the Panthers, who you'd hope to beat. For the Panthers, get Bryce Young back, and who knows, maybe you can make a playoff push. I mean, you're 5-4, so interesting team overall. Good day for the Panthers. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one was really surprising to me as well. The Packers just come off a pretty convincing win against Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and then the Panthers, I'm not going to say they're a bad team, but I don't know that they're all that great.
Yeah.
I was glad to see them finally give Rico Dowdle the majority of the carries. I think he proved that he is the better running back when
Yes.
Chuba Hubbard went down with the injury. And then I guess they wanted to let Chuba try and fight for his job back,
Yeah.
but I think it lost him a game or two there.
Yes.
So Rico Dowdle, I think he has now secured his spot as a Panthers starting running back. And then for the Packers, I think losing Tucker Kraft is a huge blow. I mean, he, like you said, he single-handedly pretty much won the game for the Packers in Pittsburgh. They just could not cover him, and then he was nearly impossible to bring down once he got the ball. So that is a major blow for the Packers. I know Jordan Love loves to throw him the ball, so big loss there, and then just a big loss overall, losing to the Panthers, and then a huge win for the Panthers, who could make a playoff push, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think. I would
Yeah.
have never thought that at the beginning of the year.
No, especially if you told me Bryce Young was going to go down and the Red Rifle was going to step in as your quarterback, I would have never said you had a chance to win a game against the Packers, who at the beginning of the year were a Super Bowl contender. A lot of people haven't even picked them to come out of the NFC. So overall, great win for the Panthers, like you said. They're making good decisions again, finally, and there's a lot of positives looking forward in the future. You got to get a Rico Dowdle extension signed on if you can anytime soon. You'd love to do that. If you're him, you probably don't sign an extension because if you can hit the free agent market, the Kansas City Chiefs might be calling because they need some running back help. And there's definitely a few other teams that would definitely be knocking on the door to try to get him to come in because, man, has he really done great for himself this year? He did good for himself last year. It's just the Cowboys got a guy in Javante who's also played well. So overall, great game from him. Good game from the Panthers. And if they get healthy, like you said, maybe they make a playoff push that nobody expected, and they're not picking at the top of the draft once again. Moving on to our next one here, Chargers versus Titans. And as a Titans fan, it sucks to lose, but losing is the way to win. Because in the future, you got to lose to win. And we want those draft picks, Jets. Thank you for making all those moves. It makes that easier for them to come up and get our first overall pick, I hope. For the Chargers, crazy bad start to the game. You give up a pick six off of a pass just right over the middle to our linebacker, returns it for a touchdown. It was his first good play of the season. And then after that, they give up a 67-yard punt return touchdown to probably the best punt returner in all of football, Chimere Dike. For Chimere Dike, there is some positives as a Titans fan. Chimere Dike is literally the best return man in all of football right now. Has 1,100 return yards, is averaging 20 yards per punt return, and has a touchdown in punt return. He's also had two touchdowns called back this year on kick and punt return. So we literally have potentially the best returner in all of football. So you nailed that draft pick in the fourth round. He's also playing receiver for us now with the injuries we have to Van Jefferson and Calvin Ridley. He has 194 yards and a touchdown. So overall, great pick there. Alec Manor had a great start to the season. He's toned back a little bit, but now he's getting all the CB ones, which he's just not ready to face cornerback ones. So when he gets to move back to that number two spot, hopefully, whenever Ridley's healthy, we'll see how good he can be. But that's a great receiver core right there. Ridley, Manor, and then of course DK in the slot. There's a lot of potential. So I'm glad we're getting those guys in the game. Gunnar Helm looks solid. So a lot of those draft picks looking good, playing well for us. Cam Ward had a pretty solid game. He didn't have a great game by any means, but again, I don't know how much you can really put on him when he's playing against the teams he's playing against without anybody out there catching passes or blocking for him. So it's an interesting dynamic for him to develop as a player. As the Titans got to the deadline, they did make some moves, but I still think they missed opportunities. They should have traded Tony Pollard for sure. You could have got probably a fourth round pick from him, and then you should have moved Arden Key. He's an old edge rusher who even if you got a sixth out of him, it would have been value because he's not returning after the contract ends with the Titans. Also, we have $100+ million of cap room going in the next season. Who knows what we're going to do? Mike Borgonzi has always said, I draft and develop. I don't sign and build teams through free agency. Well, Mike, you got 100 and some million. You're going to have to sign somebody. So I don't know if you want to just throw 100 million at one player and say, hey, we'll give you a 1 year deal for 100 million. We'll just bring them on down. Let's lose some more football games. But interesting dynamic with the Titans. What they'll do in this offseason is a complete toss up in the air. For the Chargers, of course, great win. They get to 6-3. Rough start, like I said before, but they figured things out in the second quarter. And then they got stopped again in the third and fourth. The Titans were in the game. We just shot ourselves in the foot way too many times to win it. Again, not too mad that we don't win these games, though, because having that better draft pick is going to potentially change the franchise's future. For Herbert, he had a good day. Was their leading rusher. That's concerning, but I do think they get a Marion Hampton back soon, so they should be okay. And then Runde Gadsden has absolutely stepped up as a superstar tight end. That's a really good piece to have moving forward, and I didn't think they were going to get that out of that draft pick, so pretty happy for them. They are anyways with getting that draft pick and having all those weapons around them. Overall, good day. Chargers need to play a little bit better against better teams, and we'll see what happens in the future. Your thoughts on this one?
If you're the Chargers, if you have a pick six and a punt return, you're not going to win too many of those games. So maybe dial that back a little bit
Yeah.
moving forward. But obviously happy with a win there. And then if you're the Titans, you're not too upset with a loss. You're like you said, you're fighting for that first overall pick now. Not too concerning if you're a Chargers fan. I mean, it's still the Titans are still an NFL team at the end of the day, and they have
Yep.
some really good pieces still. And then for Cam Ward, I you just want to see him stay healthy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean he doesn't really have too much to throw to right now, and then they're not really blocking for him too well either. So just stay on your feet, and we'll see what they can do. Like you said, they have a ton of money for free agency, and then we'll see what they can do next year.
Yeah, and I haven't really dove into what that free agent class looks like, but you got to think that with the no income tax in the state of Tennessee,
Yeah.
you might get somebody. You might be able to attract a big time name, and if you could do so, I would say offensive linemen are the guys you're looking for. Usually, there's not very many good ones because the teams know how valuable that player is, and they want to get them on long term extensions as soon as possible. We've seen a ton of those big contracts get handed out, but if you could get some linemen to help him out, and maybe a star receiver if you don't believe Ridley is that for the future. Those are things I think the Titans would look for, as well as obviously an edge rusher, which I'm hoping we're drafting in that draft. Ruben Bain sounds pretty good right now if you're a Titans fan. Moving on to this next one here, crazy close game for the Patriots. Again, it doesn't surprise us. The Falcons are in a game with a really good football team because me and Colin have said it time and time again. We have no idea what this team is at all. They can play this good against a really good football team and then play like they did last week. So we just have no clue how to read this team. If you're the Patriots, again, Drake May, he is your future. There is no doubt about it. We've said it once, and we've said it many times, truthfully. And then they handed the ball to TreVeyon Henderson, and then they get to the goal line, and then they're like, nah, never mind, TreVeyon. I think that Mike Vrabel just hates TreVeyon. I think there maybe has something against him. He doesn't want him getting in the end zone, but TreVeyon does seem like he's getting more carries now, getting more touches, getting more ability to break out. I think he will. He's such a good player. I don't expect him to stay this low on the statistical side of things. For the Falcons, again, they're in the game, and JPR, Parker Romo, former Tech guy, kind of in a sad way this time we're saying that, misses the extra point. It loses them the game. Drake London has a phenomenal day, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns. He has looked like a wide receiver one. He's looked like a top 10 guy in the whole entire league at that position. So they have a lot of fun, talented players. Bijan didn't do much in this game at all, didn't get established. But overall, a decent day from the Falcons offense. It's just you can't miss extra points, and you can't do it, especially against a good football team. Patriots get the win. A win's a win, no matter how you win. So they moved to 7-2, and they're looking like they're atop the AFC. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a crazy game there from Drake London with 3 touchdowns,
Yeah.
9 catches, 118 yards. Really good day for him. And that was all of Michael Penix's touchdowns were to Drake London. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So a really good day from him.
Yep.
And the Patriots were still able to come out on top. Bijan wasn't really able to get going in this game, which was, I mean, Bijan's a stud. So
Yeah.
if the Patriots defense was able to shut him down, that's really good for them. Like you said with John Parker Romo, that was a unfortunate missed extra point there. Could have sent the game to overtime, but yeah. So for the Falcons, you're kind of looking to the future at this point. They're 3-5 now, not likely to make the playoffs unless they go on some crazy run towards the end of the season. And then for the Patriots, they're still leading their division there with the Bills in it, and the Bills just won this week as well. So Patriots are having a really good year. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're a
Strong.
really good team.
Strong season from them. They're looking like a surefire playoff team at this point, and they could be a scary one with the way that that offense plays. They have a lot of different receivers that they go to quite often, and it's honestly insane how many different guys has been great for them this season. A lot of names you didn't think were going to be great players. Moving on to this next one here, the Niners get a big win to move to 6-3 over the Giants. The Giants, their season's over now, especially with the injury to Scadaboo. They didn't have neighbors already, so they knew that things were going downhill. Interesting from the Giants not to make any moves at the deadline, not to really go out and add anything, which was kind of a thought that they could add like a young player and have him for the future, or to move anything. That they have some really good pieces that could have been moved, but I get it. They want to try to keep them together because they do look like they have a quarterback potentially. And if they can make some moves in the offseason, they could get better because their defensive line is incredible. If you are the Niners, you absolutely love seeing Christian McCaffrey being the leading receiver and the leading rusher for your team. We talked about earlier in the year, McCaffrey had 500 receiving yards, and he's doing it on the ground now, too. You were talking about that, I think, earlier in the year. He was averaging like 3 yards a carry, 2 yards a carry, and he's finally getting his ground game established a little bit as well. Not as explosive as he used to be. His longest rush of the season is a 16-yard carry. So that's crazy. I mean, Christian McCaffrey used to break off big plays all the time. But that's just the player he is now. He's consistent. He's not going to be a big time break off player because of the injury that the Achilles tendonitis is such a scary thing to deal with. But he has the 2 touchdowns. Mac Jones has another pretty good day. There's really nothing he's doing wrong, and he's keeping this offense and winning football games. When they get Purdy back, I think that they're going to put him obviously back into the rotation because he's just a better quarterback. But Mac Jones is doing a great job at just doing his job, being the backup quarterback that comes in, doesn't turn the ball over too much, anyways, and just keeps the offense rolling. So, good day from the Niners. And overall, the Giants, they have a future to look forward to, but this season, I don't think there's much probability of getting too many more wins. Your thoughts on this one?
Like you said, Mac Jones has done a really good job filling in for Brock Purdy.
Yep.
I mean, he's got the 49ers at 6-3 pretty much by himself, or not by himself, but pretty much with him at quarterback the
Yep.
whole season. Brock Purdy's been out pretty much every game. McCaffrey, he was able to get going. And then it's really unfortunate for the Giants. They kind of looked like they had a spark there for a bit, and then
Yep.
it's like the Scadaboo injury just took, and the Malik Neighbors injury both just kind of took the wind out of the sails for the Giants there. But I mean, they've got those pieces are going to be coming back, so they'll have them next year, and then they'll have a pretty good draft pick likely. So we'll see what they can do moving forward next year. And then for the 49ers, you get Brock Purdy back. I don't know. I mean, he can't do too much better than what Mac Jones has been
Yeah.
doing, but at the end of the day, he's probably a better quarterback. So you can only improve if you're the 49ers. So they could be a scary team moving forward.
Yeah, and they're coached so well. You expect them to be one of the best coach teams as well moving forward. I do like the Niners a lot. I think that last season was a lie. They're not that type of team. I will say they have the injuries on defense that are so bad. You lose Fred Warner for likely the season. Nick Bosa down with injury too. Those question marks have yet to be answered on the defensive side. They still gave up 24 points, but they're so good. They are just so good, and they're well coached, and they kind of are able to fill those holes that they have on defense with good coaching and great offensive play. Moving on to this next one, Steelers versus the Colts, and the Steelers get an awesome win here. I mean, this is arguably the biggest win of the week over a really good Colts team that was piping hot. I'll let you lead this one as you are the podcast Steelers fan here.
Yeah. So the Steelers were able to pretty much shut down Jonathan Taylor, which is insane to me. They haven't stopped the run pretty much
Yeah,
all year, and now you're going to stop the best running back in the NFL.
yeah.
So I don't know where that came from, but try and do that every week, please.
Kyle Duggar, man, Kyle Duggar.
Yeah, Kyle Duggar. Please try and do that every week. And then also Tyler Warren, from what I had read, he had been a really big receiver there for he's a tight end, but he had been catching the ball there in the flats for the
Yeah.
Colts, which was another thing that was really scary after what Tucker Kraft just did to Pittsburgh last week. So, like, I mean, all things are pointing to Pittsburgh getting destroyed in this game. And then early on, Pittsburgh goes 3-and-out, and then the Colts drive right down the field and score a touchdown. I was like, oh, here we go again. But then the, just being able to shut down Jonathan Taylor, you kind of saw Daniel Jones revert back to the Giants' Daniel Jones. He finished
Yep.
the day with 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. So, I mean,
Uh,
that is concerning if you are a Colts fan, that if you take away Jonathan Taylor, then Daniel Jones might be New York Daniel Jones.
yeah.
But a lot of those yards too were at the end of the game when Pittsburgh was giving them. They were up 17 points with a few minutes to go, and they were just giving up yards and tackling them inbounds just to keep the clock running. And then for Pittsburgh, I don't know where this defense was the last 2 weeks. I mean, you give up a ton of points to the Bengals, and then you just get kind of destroyed by the Packers. It was nice to see, and it's not like the offense had a really big day. I mean, a lot of their points came off of these turnovers. They forced 6 total turnovers. One was a muff punt, and then the 5 by Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So, really just a good team win there. One thing that is a little concerning for the Steelers, DK Metcalf, he finished the day with 2 catches and 6 yards, and one of those catches was a jet sweep that was kind of tossed forward to get the reception in there. I don't mind because I'm a fantasy owner, but it's not really a catch. So I think that's one reason they could have went and got a receiver at the deadline because of teams are able to just focus on DK. And then Calvin Austin, he had a pretty good game. He was actually the leading receiver. But Darnell Washington had, I think, the most catches, and he was right up there with Calvin Austin, which you've got Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith, and I don't know how your leading receiver is a 6'7", 300-pound tight end. I don't get it, but I'll take it. Just overall, a really good win from Pittsburgh that I did not see come.
Yeah, and we both picked the Colts to win this game. I hate the Colts, and you love the Steelers, so you would have thought neither one of us would want to pick the Colts to win this game, but it just felt like the writing was on the wall that they had every single counter to beat the Steelers. And then that really good turnover friendly defense in the Steelers that just forced so many turnovers, like the Patriots game earlier in the year, where they were, I think, 5 turnovers in that one. So you're able to force, I mean, you now have these big teams that you're just able to completely shut down. I mean, the Patriots have looked like they're rolling against everybody, and the Steelers shut them down with all those awesome turnovers. And now the Colts, who have been rolling and beating everybody, and you shut them down with the turnovers. So the Steelers have something. They figured something out. When you play a great football team, they know how to force turnovers. And that's 11 turnovers against the Patriots and the Colts. I mean, you're going to win those games with that many turnovers. Now, can they do that every week? I don't think so. It's obviously really hard to force 6 turnovers, but at the same time, they're still, like you said, they weren't. This is not a 7 point game. This was that whole let's drop back and let everybody have a million yards type of defense. Whenever I don't think they even needed to do that. They were playing so well, but I get it. You want to run clock out, but you just made it look close, and you didn't need to do that. Overall, they absolutely shut down Jonathan Taylor. What impressive day from the Steelers defense doing that. But Daniel Jones, like you said, made him look like a scrub. I mean, that is the truest form of what I can say about him. 5 turnovers from one player is a scrub. That's a bad, bad, bad football day. 3 interceptions. They were not good interceptions. They were bad, bad mistakes. It wasn't like it was receivers dropping passes. So again, great, great day from the Steelers. They have so much potential to be this good. I agree with you. I wish they had made that one move just to get a receiver. It didn't even have to be a superstar. It could have been Rashid Shaheed. That would have, cleared up some space and let DK work. Or if it didn't, teams aren't just going to be able to sit around all day and do that if you have Rashid Shaheed running routes. I mean, he's a deep ball monster. He catches 80-yard touchdowns all the time. So I do wish they had done that, but maybe they're just hoping that Roman Wilson's kind of unlocking that slot a little bit and Calvin Austin can repeat as a great player. There's a world where I think they could. No, Roman Wilson is just not an outside receiver, but there's a world where they could do it and play like a Freiermuth or a John, even John. John's got some speed. Play
Yeah.
Jonnu Smith in the slot. You see teams do that in college all the time. Now it's not college football, but Harold Fannin, who was incredible at Bowling Green, played the slot. He was not an inline blocking tight. He didn't block anybody. He played slot. And Colston Loveland with Michigan played slot and was awesome at that position. So put Freiermuth out there and then have Johnny on the field as well in the slot and then run like a traditional tight end and a slot receiver as a tight end. Those are the kind of things I think they should test and just see how it goes. Now, again, I haven't seen a ton of their formations, but I don't know how often they're really doing that. So get the ball out to those tight ends who are clearly your best receiving weapons after DK and let them make plays. Overall, I think the Steelers are still a really good football team. If they have Aaron Rodgers, I think they're a Super Bowl threat. And I know you love to hear that. Aaron Rodgers wins football games. That's what he does. And if he has a team around him that can do it, I expect that the Steelers could be there. They're also coached extremely well. Tomlin does not lose. That is that is the Curt Cignetti thing with college football. He says it all the time. I don't lose. Look me up. This dude Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, so he doesn't lose football games. So great great win for the Colts. You do have to worry that if Jonathan Taylor gets shut down, do you get Giants Daniel Jones? Moving on to this next one here. Broncos versus the Texans. Broncos didn't have to do a whole lot to get this win. It wasn't the prettiest day by Bo Nix by any means. They don't run the ball too great. Dobbins has an okay day. I think Harvey may have found the end zone once, or if not, he did have at least a good day in the air. But man, the Texans, they had looked like they had an offense kind of rolling and get shut down completely, and that's without Pat Surtain. So we had our own concerns going into this game, saying, man, without Pat Surtain and this really good Texans offense has been cooking lately, we thought there'd be some trouble. There was none. And the Broncos show why they have one of the best defenses, that even without their best player, they're able to shut down the Texans and get a victory. Again, that last second field goal that it states there gets that win. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was a really close game there. The Broncos kind of come back there in the fourth quarter. I wasn't able to watch this game.
No, me neither.
I know Bo Nix, it looks like he had a pretty decent day. Not really efficient though through the air.
Yeah.
Just 2 touchdowns. Dobbins averaging like right at 4 yards a carry, so pretty good day for him. But yeah, the Broncos were just able to find a way to win, and I mean that's at the end of the day, NFL, anything can happen. You can lose to anybody. So anytime you can get a win, you're going to be happy. So the Broncos are able to move on to 7-2. I believe they're leading their division as well. So big win for them.
Yeah, and that division is actually a pretty strong one that we're watching out for, of course. Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. And everybody thought the Raiders could potentially contend prior to the season, but those top three teams are going to be competing for a really fun division, and we'll see what happens as the year goes on. Moving on to this next one here. Jags taking on the Raiders. Do remind you, this is that Jags team that just went out and added a big receiver. They get it done, and it takes a lot. It takes an overtime victory where they're able to just shut down a 2 point conversion, which, if you're the Raiders, I don't blame you. You have nothing to lose. You might as well try it. But if you're the Jags, you're very happy that that happened because who knows if that game keeps going, Brock Bowers might just go out and do something else insane because he had some unbelievable plays. This dude is he proved it once again why he's the next great tight end. Coming right back off an injury and playing like this is just unbelievable. For the Raiders, those are the positives you wanted to see this year. You saw a really good passing day from Geno Smith. You saw a great day from that offensive line, finally giving him some time. Brock Bowers looks like a future monster. I mean, there's a real world where you could trade a tight end for multiple first round picks. Anybody would take this dude to be their next tight end. So who knows if they're bad for a couple of years, you might see him get moved for the craziest trade haul ever for a tight end. But I know Raiders fans don't want to hear that. But it is awesome to see this kind of player playing this good for you. They don't, again, have the best rushing attack. It's just because that offensive line just isn't great. And if you're the Jags, you have that injury to Travis Hunter, which you hate to see. BTJ is just not all that great this year, but at least you had ETN going. Also, props to our boy Tootin. He did find the end zone in this one, and that makes sense why they traded Bigsby. We talked about it earlier. They have Tootin, and he's able to make some plays. Overall, a good day from the Jags because you walk away with a win. It doesn't matter how you get it, you got the win. And if you're the Raiders, man, Brock Bowers, he is absolutely the future. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. So first off, shout out Cam Little. He just broke the NFL
Mhm.
record for the longest kick. And this game was 6-3 going into halftime, and somehow ends up 30-29.
Yeah.
Obviously, seven and six of those points were in overtime. But I mean, this game was like a snooze fest. I turned it off at halftime because it was just boring to watch. And then as bad as Geno Smith has been, he has found a connection there with Brock Bowers. He didn't play that bad this game. He finished with four touchdowns and only one
Yeah.
interception. I think he's right up there with Tua for the most interceptions in the NFL. But for the Raiders, I mean, it's just been a really unfortunate season, honestly. You haven't really got much out of Geno, which you kind of hoped would help make a playoff push. And then Genty hasn't really been going either, which is a little bit concerning
Yeah.
since you spent a first round pick on him, a high first round pick on him, which is not usual for a running back unless you have like a Saquon Barkley or something on the board. I think he'll be fine once they get an offensive line that's pretty decent,
Yeah.
but just a little bit concerning there for the Raiders, considering the high pick they spent on him. And then for the Jaguars, they're a playoff team if I think with this addition at receiver, possibly.
Yeah.
If Trevor Lawrence can get going, he didn't have a very good day. I don't think he threw a touchdown pass. He did rush for one, I believe, though. I think the Jaguars are a decent team, and I think maybe adding a receiver here at the deadline can help them make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, they still got a free win on the schedule. And they play the Titans again, so
That's
uh,
true.
that's somewhere down the road. You got one guaranteed for you. Also, this is the Trevor Lawrence flu game, battling an illness. So
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
there's your question mark potentially on the why he didn't have the best day ever.
I'll give him a pass.
But it's still not a bad game when you score 30 points and you
Yeah.
get most of it in the fourth quarter. And like you said, props to Little, 68-yard field goal. What a kick! Just unbelievable. I mean, there really is kickers in the NFL now that can make a 70-yard kick, and that's people wouldn't believe you if you said that, even 15 years ago. So,
Yeah.
really, really impressive. Moving on to this next one. This is probably the game that needs the least to be talked about. The Rams. I hate that Tyler Shuck had to make his first real start against probably one of the best defensive lines in all of football. They got after him. They tore him up. They weren't able to score very many points, and now he's going to be playing without Rashid Shaheed next week, his second best target, who he was targeting quite a bit. Overall, the Rams are incredible. They get Puka Nacua back, and they look just like they did with him before. Devontae Adams has an incredible day too, with two touchdowns. Kyron Williams just signed an extension. He's looking great. That extension definitely gave him a good day. $33 million helped him out a little bit. 114 and a touchdown. Stafford pretty much sure. I mean, he's locking up that surefire Hall of Fame that he's already got it, but he's just adding on to it. And like I said before, this defensive line is incredible. For the Saints, there's not much to talk about, really. I mean, Chuck, I don't expect him to play well against this team of all teams. I wish he'd have got it against like the Raiders or the Titans or somebody bad and just see if he has some potential. They're going to keep running him out there, which is a good thing. You got to see what you have. You took him in the second round, so you need to know. Overall, just not a lot of positives for the Saints and for the Rams. They look like a Super Bowl contender when everybody's healthy and playing. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and like you said, not much to say about this one. The Saints are a bad team, and they just got even worse at the deadline, which isn't terrible for them at the end of the day because they're going to get a higher pick. And then for the Rams, they are a really, really good football team when everyone is healthy. I know I was watching, keeping up with this game. Kyron Williams, I don't think he had any touches really in the third quarter, but once they put him back in the game, he kind of went off there once they were trying to run that clock down.
Yeah.
So a big day for him. And then Puka Nacua, I think it was either him or Devontae Adams made a crazy catch in the back of the end zone. So highlight there. And then, like you said, Shuck, he got his first touchdown, but not a great game from him. And I mean, it was just unfortunate circumstances. I'm not sure that many quarterbacks would perform too well in what he's in right now.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see how much potential he has until next year, maybe when they can
Yeah.
clear off some more salary cap on these older guys and maybe surround him with a better offensive line or maybe some more weapons. But it could be the same conversation could be had that they may want to just move on already, which sucks because you spent a second round pick on him. But you just have to find guys in this NFL that we're in now. Coaches and GMs get fired so fast, so if they don't make decisions quick, they get canned, and that might be what happens. Moving on to this next one that we will spend some time on, Chiefs Bills, and it was pretty good. The second half, of course, starts out with the Bills getting on the in the end zone early, but then the Chiefs they kind of control them the rest of that game. They're able to come back a little bit, get it close, but the Bills were just good enough, and this is a really impressive win. The Bills we have kind of harped on a little bit. They didn't have an impressive win on their resume so far. They hadn't beat anybody great. They had a lot of wins against bad football teams. They now have a win against a really good team that was really hot too. Coming into this one, the Chiefs had looked like one of the best teams in football, and they're able to shut them down. Allen goes out and plays really good. 23 for 26, 273, a touchdown, does bring his own rushing upside as well. James Cook, we've talked about it all year. You can hand the dude the ball and just let him go. He goes for 114 on the ground. And Kincaid has an awesome day, 6 for 101 and a touchdown. Josh Allen's kind of in that same boat, not exactly as the Steelers with his weapons, but his tight ends are his best players. I mean, he has Khalil Shakir on the outside, but other than that, he didn't have a superstar receiver, and Shakir's only a slot guy. So they were a team that I was surprised didn't go get a receiver at the deadline. I think they were, if they go get a Jalen Waddle or a Chris Olave, or even if you could somehow convince the Jets to give you Garrett Wilson, it seemed like they were fire selling. They could be the favorite to win the Super Bowl, and they didn't do that. So I don't necessarily know if they are. But they do play great once again against the Chiefs in the regular season. Allen has always won those games. He just can't get it done in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens if they match up again. I feel like it kind of seems like we might be heading in that direction, that they could play each other again at some point. Overall, your thoughts on this one? A fun game between the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah, I think the Bills defense was really impressive in this game. They were
Yep.
able to kind of not completely shut down Mahomes, but I think he threw for zero touchdowns and one interception. So, I mean, if you can do that to Patrick Mahomes, you had a really good day. He is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. So, for the Bills, James Cook, he has just kept doing what he's been doing all year. He's been probably a top five running back in the NFL this year. And then, like you mentioned, with the Bills, their best receivers are their tight ends and Khalil Shakir. And I don't know what it is, but when Khalil Shakir plays the Chiefs, he usually has a pretty good day. And
Yeah.
once again, he finished with 7 catches again. So I don't know what it is when he plays the Chiefs. He can tear them up.
Yeah.
And then Kincaid and Knox, I saw Knox had one big catch, and then Kincaid he finished with 6 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Like you said, though, I think the Bills could have done more at the deadline, and that would have made them really, really scary. I guess the teams were asking for too much or something there. But Josh Allen also, earlier in his career, he was really turnover prone. And then in this game, he's 23 to 26, which is a really, really clean football game for a
Yeah.
quarterback. So impressive improvement from Josh Allen, as if he needed to improve any at all.
Yeah, he's a great, great player, and he brings you, like I said, that really high rushing upside. So he's just one of those really fun quarterbacks to watch. And in that argument with Mahomes and probably Lamar when healthy is those three top quarterbacks in all of football. Well, we'll move on to this next one. And honestly, the biggest talking point is the injury to Jaden Daniels. That is one of the more gruesome injuries I've seen. The elbow was not in a good place. Let's just say that. Luckily, it was not his throwing arm, so hopefully there's no real severe damage to his career. If it was his throwing arm, we're talking about changing his career, maybe never being the same player. So if there's any positive at all, and it's not positive, if you're a Commanders fan, you can look at it and say, at least we know he can come back and have his throwing arm fully healthy and ready to go when he is able to play. You're 3-6. I don't see a way you rush him back this year. It just doesn't seem like that's worth it. I don't think it's like the worst injury of all time because I think they said that it wasn't a super like a ton of damage, just really bad dislocation, maybe some ligament damage, but nothing fractured or anything. So I don't know what happens there. That's a really scary injury. For the Seahawks, the positives for them, Sam Darnold is cooking 21 for 24, 330 yards and four touchdowns. He had a stretch in the first half where he was 16 for 16 and couldn't throw an incompletion, and he only threw an incompletion because they're at the end of the half. Jackson Smith and Jigba Cooks goes 8 for 130. They now add Rashid Shaheed to a team that's already rolling on offense. They don't have the greatest ground game ever, but it doesn't matter when you're scoring 38 points and it's all through the air. So, really, really good day from the Seahawks. And if you're a Commanders fan, there just isn't a lot to look forward to for the rest of this season. That defense is getting old too, so there's some question marks about the potential future of them. Colin, your thoughts?
All right. So for the Commanders, it was like you said, a gruesome injury there with Jaden Daniels. You hate to see that, but at the end of the day, you're 3-6. You probably weren't going to make the playoffs this year anyway, so it'll be good to get him completely healed back up because he'd been facing some other injuries this year as well. So just get a fully healed Jaden Daniels next year. It does kind of suck, like you said, the defense is aging, so you might be missing your window for like last year may have been their only shot there to make the playoffs there for a bit. But at the end of the day, you have a really good quarterback, and that's the main thing you need to build a good team. And then for the Seahawks, Sam Darnold had four touchdowns before he had an incomplete pass, which is insanely impressive for him. Uh, but I do have a bone to pick with the Seahawks. So they don't give the ball to Kenneth Walker in the red zone for whatever reason. So Zach Charbonnet has 80 carries on the year and 2.9 yards per carry, but five touchdowns. Kenneth Walker has 106 carries, 4.5 yards per carry, and only three touchdowns. As a Kenneth Walker fantasy owner, why are we not giving him the ball in the red zone? So not only did they not give him the ball, they didn't give Charbonnet the ball either. They let AJ Barner get a rushing touchdown this game. They're tight end. So he had more rushing touchdowns this game, 1 yard, one carry for 1 yard, and had more touchdowns than Kenneth Walker. It's not like Charbonnet is that much bigger than him either. He's 6'1", 214 pounds, and Kenneth Walker is 5'9", 211 pounds. So I mean, honestly, Kenneth Walker is
Yeah,
more of a power back build than he is,
yeah.
and he has five touchdowns compared to Kenneth Walker's three. Kenneth Walker would be having a really good year in fantasy this year if he could have eight touchdowns instead of 3 and 5 for Charbonnet. So please, please, please give Kenneth Walker the ball in the red zone as a Kenneth Walker fantasy owner, please.
Yes, and I have my own stock in Ken Walker, and he's been unstartable sometimes because of the lack of scoring touchdowns. And you are 100% right. I mean, he at Michigan State, that is what he was a pure power back. He is a power monster too. I mean, that's like it was his whole thing was breaking tackles and scoring touchdowns. And Charbonnet's always been a pass catcher out of the backfield, more of a pass catching back. And so it doesn't make sense to give Charbonnet more carries in the red zone than Ken Walker. And again, Barner, crazy that he scores, and neither one of them found the end zone. There's definitely those question marks there on what they will do moving forward in that position. They definitely run out a weird grouping of carries to those guys, and it'll be interesting to see how they get them the ball better. Quickly for the Commanders, I didn't mention running back Chris Rodriguez as the leading rusher. JCM hasn't got the ball a ton, like I think people wanted him to, and so it'll be interesting to see how they handle things next year because trade away Brian Robinson at the beginning of the year. kind of seems like it wasn't the best idea because Brian Robinson maybe could help out this really lackluster offense, and it won't change the defense, but maybe they could have a few more wins if they had a good run game. We'll move on to this last one here Monday Night Football between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. And now you see why the Cowboys went and tried to add on their defense because they're giving up 25 plus points every single week. I mean, they give up so many points and they let Jacoby Brissett tear them apart. I mean, he was looking really good out there. Marvin Harrison, I think maybe Jacoby Brissett is the only one that can figure it out, but this dude is a beast. I mean, he made a dude drop on the goal line. He literally juked him out so bad he fell down, and then he scored a wide open touchdown. Marvin Harrison is a monster. I mean, he was Maserati Marv, as he was deemed in college, for reasons. This dude's a monster. He's one of the best receiver prospects we've seen. Get him the ball, and Jacoby Brissett is doing that. He's now the starter. Been named the starter moving forward. Now Kyler Murray, of course, is still expected to miss time due to injury, but who knows? When Murray returns, Brissett might get starts, and that's incredible because if we're going to give up on Kyler Murray, why didn't you trade him at the deadline if you were going to give up on him? Now, maybe because of the injury you couldn't, but that's something that we might talk about in the offseason is a Kyler Murray trade, which would be pretty wild. There's definitely some big question marks on what they're going to do for him in the future. For the Cowboys, Javonte Williams has a pretty good day, but overall their offense just didn't do what it's been doing. They've been scoring a ton of points, and they were just not able to do that this week. And also, Brendan Aubrey misses a kick. He never misses, and he missed a kick in this one. So overall, just a not great day from the Dallas Cowboys. They made a move to try to get better, and we'll see if next week they put a better product on the field. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, first of all, it would have been nice YouTube TV to watch the game or any college football this weekend at all. That would have been nice. But, anyways, like I said, Jacoby Brissett had a really good game. I saw he got into, I think it was maybe a quarterback sneak or something. And when he got in the end zone, he said it's too easy about talking about the Cowboys defense. This defense is terrible. And
Yeah.
then you mentioned the Marvin Harrison made the corner fall. It wasn't just any corner, it was Deron Bland, the
Yeah.
guy that chose to pay and not pay Micah Parsons. At the, Deron Bland is a good corner, don't get me wrong, but it was just kind of funny to see that. Good win there for the Cardinals. I'm not sure that they're gonna be able to make a playoff push or not there. Jacoby Brissett had a good day, but he's not a great quarterback
Yeah.
and not somebody I don't think that can lead this team to the playoffs. But they have some really good pieces moving forward. And then for the Cowboys, they did at the deadline bulk up that defense, and they need it bad. This defense is not good. I would say it's probably second worst in the NFL behind the Bengals. But hopefully, with these additions they made at the trade deadline, they can improve a little bit. So a bad loss there for the Cowboys, who are obviously trying to compete this year, and a decent win there for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think the Cardinals are in any kind of playoff push mode at all, but there is some positives. If Jacoby Brissett was a good quarterback, though, you're right. Somebody would have signed him as a starting quarterback. I mean, that would have happened. So he obviously isn't the future by any means, and he just is a short-term fill in the blank without Kyler Murray out the field, and maybe fill in the blank the rest of the year and Kyler Murray gets traded. That's going to be a fun one to watch at the end of the season, see what happens there because Gannon has had his experiences with some quarterbacks, just to say the least. You're also right about the defensive side of the ball. Deron Bland getting the money. The jokes write themselves. The Cowboys go out and trade the picks that they got for a new defensive player that they could have just signed and paid Micah Parsons, who would make this team a lot better. It's just interesting decisions from Jerry, and you see why people are revolting about showing up at Jerry's World. We will now move on into our picks for the week. Go over and look at the Week 10 NFL schedule. And starting us off Thursday night on Prime. Luckily, we can watch that one, even if we have YouTube TV. Thursday night on Prime. Vegas heading to Denver in a game that will be a blowout. I just think that Denver, they just know how to win games. And I think if they won last week over a decent Texans team, they're going to beat a Vegas team. Now, I will say, kind of scary to have to face Brock Bowers because the dude he can be your whole offense and you can still score a lot of points. But I just think the Broncos, they know how to win. They're scoring late in games continuously. They do it every week. And their defense is pretty good even without Surtain. So give me Denver to get it done here and I actually like him to cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna go with Denver. I think it might be a fairly close game. Most of Denver's games this year have been close,
Yeah.
but I think it could be huge for them once they get to the playoffs because
Mhm.
most playoff games are really close. So I think that'll be good for them moving forward, playing in all these close games. But I'm gonna go with Denver here.
I'm also, I will say, I'm a little bit worried about old man Gino in the
Yeah, for
Denver
sure.
Stadium. They might get out of breath early on. Moving on to this next one, we've got a crazy fun location, Olympic Stadium in Berlin, Germany. They're obviously doing the constant expansion across into the European side of things. They've also played in Brazil, and so the NFL is trying to push that out there. You get the Colts, and funny enough, this game before the season started, we probably looked at Falcons Colts and said, that ain't that fun to go watch. But now you got the Colts, who might be one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, last week they looked human, but you get a fun game to watch if you're over there in Berlin. We should see the Colts get it done too. I don't think the Falcons are good enough to beat this Colts team. They are always in games, or when they're not in games, it's usually a blowout. So it could somehow be close, but give me the Colts to get a bounce back win here in Berlin. Your thoughts on this one?
Yep, I like the Colts in this one as well. I think it'll be a close game because the Falcons, I just don't know about them.
Yeah.
Like we said, week in and week out, we don't know about the Falcons. They can beat anyone or lose to anyone, I think.
Yep.
Um, but I like the Colts in this one.
Yep, and moving on to this next one here, New York taking on Chicago in what could be a really fun game. If you get after Caleb Williams and put him in some interesting situations, he sometimes makes mistakes. He's still a young player, and his offensive line it's improved from last year, but it's still not a superstar offensive line. I do think Chicago's just a better football team. They have so many really good weapons on offense as well. I think Ben Johnson and especially Chicago getting it done in Soldier Field. I think Chicago will win this game, but it could be close. New York has a great defense and it can maybe rattle Williams' cage a couple times. Your pick here.
I'm actually going to go with the Giants here. I think Chicago's a really good team, don't get me wrong, but I just think Jackson Dart, he's been playing really good, and they've been in most of the games they've played. And then Chicago, I think that their defense is going to be able to get after Caleb Williams and force some turnovers, and I think New York will come out on top here.
Yep, and that was one I almost picked it, but I just gave the Soldier Field advantage to Chicago. Looking on to our next one here on the Sunday day slate, Buffalo taking on Miami. This is a quick one. Give me Buffalo and give me them to cover the spread. I love how they played against the Chiefs. I think they're one of the best teams in the entire league, and Miami just isn't a good football team.
Yep, I'm with you on this one. I was starting to doubt Buffalo a little bit, but after they beat the Panthers 40-9 and then beat the Chiefs last week, I'm back on board with Buffalo. So I'm gonna go with them to destroy Miami here.
Yeah, yeah, good point there with that huge win over Panthers too. I almost forgot about that earlier. They have played really well the last 2 weeks. Moving on to our next one here, Baltimore going on the road to Minnesota. Baltimore getting the 4.5 point favorites 2 weeks ago. I don't think that would look that way, but with a healthy Lamar Jackson and the way that this team is playing, and the addition of a Draymond Jones, although a lot of people won't know how good he has been, he's been awesome lately and can give a boost to that team. I think Baltimore will go into Minnesota and get a big win here.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm gonna go with Baltimore to win. I think with the addition of Lamar Jackson, I think that this team is really, really good. I think they like we saw in week one when they played with the Bills, they should have beat the Bills in
Yeah.
week one. They were up real big with just a few minutes to go, and then the Bills came roaring back. But I like them to win over the rookie McCarthy in Minnesota.
Yeah. And moving on to our next one here. Cleveland taking on New York in MetLife. Unfortunate for everybody having to play on that field. Hopefully, we keep Myles Garrett healthy and everybody gets out of here good and safe. I don't think New York is really all that great. I just don't think, especially after trading your two best defensive players, you can beat a team, even though it's Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland's all that great either, but I just think they have pieces. They have a guy in Myles Garrett. They have something. They have Judkins, who can probably run all over this New York team that doesn't have an interior presence in Quentin Williams anymore. So give me Cleveland to get a really close win in between what we may be calling the Doo-Doo Bowl this week.
Yeah, I don't know who's spending $46 to go watch this game. You couldn't pay me to go watch this one. Uh, Cleveland, I'm gonna go with Cleveland just because of their defense and how bad. I mean, both these offenses have been terrible. The only time the Jets have had an offense is when they played the Bengals, and everyone has an offense when they play the Bengals. So,
Yeah.
I like Cleveland in this one.
Yep, and moving on to this next one here, should be a really fun one taking place in Tampa Bay. and Tampa is actually your favorite here. Makes me think they're going to get healthy and get those guys back. Maybe an Irving is available. Maybe you have a Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka playing. I don't exactly know the injury updates on those guys. I think Baker's really good, and he's looking to get maybe the highest paid quarterback contract of all time if the rumors are true on his extension. But I just think the Patriots, they're rolling right now, and in Tampa Bay without their guys, I'd be concerned. I don't know if they're coming back or not, but I'm going to take New England here, and I guess a technical upset on the road in Raymond James.
Yeah, I don't really know much about who and all is coming back for Tampa Bay, but I do trust that they'll get some of their production back, even if it's just Egbuka or Bucky Irving. I think it'll be huge for Tampa Bay. We saw them struggling there a little bit before the bye, but they literally had nobody at that point.
Yeah.
But I think if they can get those weapons back, I think that they'll be able to take care of the Patriots here. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay here.
Yeah, and that should be a really fun game. So far, out of the games we've looked at, that could potentially be our game of the week. Moving on to our next one here, New Orleans taking on Carolina. This is the kind of game that I think Tyler Shuck has a chance to go out and maybe show if he's a good quarterback or not in the NFL. I still think they're not good enough as a team, especially after you trade away one of his favorite targets. Give me Carolina to get it done here and move to 6-4, and that puts them in a real conversation to potentially be a playoff team at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you on this pick. 6-4 for Carolina. It sounds like crazy, especially after the past few years with Carolina. And I
Yeah.
mean, they really didn't add too much this offseason, so it's kind of crazy. I guess Rico Dowdle was their the
Yeah.
key that they've been missing. But I like the Panthers here.
Yeah, and maybe getting that true number one receiver, Tedera McMillan,
Yeah.
that could be a big help too. Although Andy Dalton just isn't throwing him the ball. You get Bryce Young back, he might get the ball a little bit more often. Moving on to this next one, a battle of AFC South rivals. Jacksonville taking on Houston, and Houston is the favorite in this game. I guess getting it at home, very surprising to me. So I guess I'm taking the technical upset. Give me Jacksonville. They have a new receiver out there in Jacoby Myers. BTJ, if he finds it, man, and now he's gonna be going up against wide receiver or cornerback twos, which can help him out. And then when they get Travis Hunter back later in the year, they should be really fun to watch on offense. But even without Hunter, I think Jacksonville's just a better football team. Give me Jacksonville to go into Houston and get a win.
Yeah, I'm completely with you here. I'm not sure why Houston's favored in this game, but I like Jacksonville, especially with the addition they made and Trevor Lawrence hopefully healed up from his flu.
Yeah.
So I like Jacksonville here.
Yeah, you don't want them to have back-to-back flu games. Moving on to this next one here, Arizona going on the road to Seattle should be a really fun matchup because Jacoby Brissett has had this offense kind of rolling, but Seattle's just better. They've made a good addition in getting Rashid Shaheed just to help out Darnold, who heck doesn't even need the help, like you said, 4 touchdowns before an incompletion last week. And maybe for your sake, they'll get the ball out to Ken Walker a little bit more. I think Seattle gets it done at home, especially with that 12th man.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. Like you said, Sam Darnold, he's been incredible this year. I honestly, I had some doubts about him when he went to Seattle, but he has been incredible for him. So I like the Seahawks here, and hopefully they can get Kenneth Walker the ball, please.
Yeah, yeah, he needs to get in the end zone once or twice for the both of us.
Yeah.
Moving on to this next one here, a battle out on the West Coast in Levi Stadium should be a really fun game, but to me, San Francisco with some of those injuries on defense and Mac Jones, at quarterback, who is now facing one of the best defenses he's faced all year, I don't trust him as much in a matchup like this. Give me the Rams to get it done. They obviously went out and added Roger McCreary, who, as a Titans fan, I love him as a player. It only makes that defense better and their defense might already be one of the best in the league. So with Stafford, with a healthy Nakua and a healthy Adams and a new Kyron Williams on the top of that monster contract he just got, give me the Rams to get a huge win against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep, I'm with you on this pick. I might go with San Francisco if they had Brock Purdy, but I don't know. Los Angeles has been really, really good this year.
Yep.
And especially now that they're all healthy, I'm gonna go with the Rams here.
Yeah, moving on to this next one, division matchup here, but it's not as fun as it was last year when these two teams played. No Jaden Daniels, and Washington's defense just looks embarrassing every time they step on the field. Give me Detroit, and actually, I think they'll cover this spread in Landover. You might get some boos from the crowd if they fall to 3-7 after that NFC Championship run last year.
I like Detroit here as well. I mean, this Washington defense has been, like you said, terrible, and this Detroit offense is really, really good, even without Ben Johnson. They did fall last week to the Vikings, but I look for them to bounce back here. And then Washington, their offense, it's kind of non-existent now, especially without Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
So I like Detroit.
Yeah, and moving on to this next one, obviously, this is one that will hit you in the heart a little bit. It's your team playing, taking on the Chargers in their stadium. And now the Chargers, they obviously had their question marks on the defensive side of the ball. They went out and addressed that. They added some nice pieces on the defensive side. For Pittsburgh, they had their question marks on the defensive side of the ball. They go try to address that with Kyle Duggar, who obviously had a decent debut. They didn't make as big of a move. I think Oweh is a better player, but Pittsburgh, they find a way to win some of these big time games, and I think when you get on to prime time, that they are also America's one of America's favorite teams. I think there's a lot of Pittsburgh fans out there, especially in our area. I'm gonna make you happy here. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh going into LA and getting a huge win. I love Aaron Rodgers. I've said this many times before. He's a top five quarterback ever, in my opinion. So I just like Rodgers, and it's easy to pull for Pittsburgh too, with you being a fan. So give me them getting a huge win over the Chargers in LA.
Yeah, I will say thank God it's not Monday night, so I can actually watch the game.
Yeah.
But I like Pittsburgh in this one. The all the receiving weapons that Los Angeles has does kind of scare me with Quentin Johnson coming on this year as well as Keenan Allen kind of having a career resurgence. But I do like Pittsburgh here. I think the defense, if they can stop the run and kind of just force them to pass, although Justin Herbert is better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know statistically if he is this year, but he is a
Yeah.
better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Yes.
So I don't think they're going to force six turnovers again, but I think the offense is going to be able to do a little bit more than what they did last week. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here.
Yeah, and again, that should be a really fun one. We talk about games of the week. It is good that it's on NBC and we get to watch that game. But that should be a good one. And we already talked about the one earlier between New England and Tampa Bay. We'll move on to Monday Night Football, where you're getting your third game of the week. This is those three should probably be your big three if you're tuning into any of these games. Philadelphia taking on Green Bay in Green Bay. They've got their injuries, they've got their concerns, and they're still favorites. ESPN Bet has them as a 2.5 point favorite. So they obviously they have a great football team. They're 5-2-1 for a reason. And Philadelphia, they went out and made some decent additions, and one big one in Jalen Phillips. I think Philly got better at the deadline. I don't know if Green Bay got better because of the Tucker Craft injury. So I'm going to go Philly to walk into one of the hardest places to get a big victory, Lambeau Field. I think Jalen Hurts. I think Saquon Barkley. I love those receivers and the defense. It's getting better. So give me Philly to get a huge win over Green Bay.
Yep, I'm with you on this one as well. I like Green Bay. I think they're a good team,
Yeah.
but the Tucker Craft injury is huge, and they didn't really add anything at the deadline. The Eagles did, and I think they've been getting better as the years gone on. Each game, the offense has kept improving, and then we kind of saw Saquon coming on the past couple games. So I like Philly here, but I think it'll be a really good game.
Yeah, and quickly we'll look at these bye weeks. As you can see, one really bad team and then three really good teams moving on beyond that. Yeah, the Titans, great team there. The only one here really of note is Kansas City is on a bye week, so we won't see them get a win, which they would likely do after a loss. But they're even scarier after a bye week because they get to sit there and prepare for 2 weeks. The Titans are probably less scary after a bye week because who knows who's coaching that team during bye weeks? They might just go to the arcade and play arcade games together. Uh, team bonding for the Titans. It's going to be very concerning for the morale the rest of the year. 1-16 seems like we have our name written all over it. That is going to wrap it up for this week's NFL talk. We had a lot to talk about on this one. Had the NFL trade deadline, which is one of the biggest days of the year for NFL teams. They go out and they add and they make themselves Super Bowl contenders potentially. I think that there were some teams that really did that, and those teams they have a lot to look forward to. The Colts making one of the biggest moves of the day, and the Cowboys, who are on a bye, we won't really get to see what that did to them, makes probably the other biggest move. And then you mentioned the Eagles. They went out and added Jalen Phillips, makes that team even scarier. A defending Super Bowl champion probably didn't need an extra edge rusher who can make plays. So, should be really fun to watch all these games play out this week. Should have some really good ones. And I think we're both going to certainly be tuned into that late night game in Pittsburgh taking on LA. Overall, I think we've had a good week of coverage. Colin, if you got anything to add, your time is now.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I know last time Pittsburgh played there in Los Angeles, they kind of packed out the stadium. The Steelers did.
Yeah.
Uh, Los Angeles doesn't have much of a home field advantage there, so hopefully the Steelers can take it over and make it their own home field.
Yep, and I think we might see some terrible towels getting
For
thrown
sure.
around in the air in that one because, like you said, unfortunately, the Chargers do not have a big fan base, and when they moved to LA, it got even smaller because the fans that were originally fans where they were at didn't like that move. They didn't like them leaving, so they just chose to pull for another team. We will obviously come back next week with some more NFL talk. I will have a mock draft coming out. We've talked about it for the past couple weeks. We've got it filmed. I'm probably going to post it the same time this comes out. So if you're watching this NFL video, check out the mock draft. It should also be up on the channel. I might not release them both at the exact same time. So hopefully you're at the end of this one, and then the mock draft comes out around 8. So this one should be out at 7. The next one, the mock, come out at 8. And hopefully you guys can get a lot of NFL action from me, Colin, and Hoppy will also be on that mock draft. You've seen him on the channel before. Check out all the rest of my content. I'll have pick'ems coming yet again on Thursday, and me and Hoppy will do a little breakdown of the World Series. Not too much to talk about. The Dodgers were able to get it done again. Sadly, we might be seeing a lockout in 2 years if things don't change over the next year. All that to be said, we've had a lot of fun talking about these games. Again, Colin, last but not least, go ahead and give us your classic Steelers line.
This time I've got a Titans line for you. So
Oh,
the Titans versus bye week. Who you got?
oh, I think I'll take the bye week. Give me another
Bye
loss.
week.
Yes. Give me another loss. I will happily take that first overall pick if we could somehow get it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not been a good season to watch. That's what I'll say. I was gonna get tickets actually this year to go to a game. I have changed my mind. I will maybe view the team next year when we have
Yeah.
some better pieces. I do want to watch Cam Ward sometime in the near future. But that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you guys again next week with some more NFL talk. I won't have too much more news going on with the deadline happening and all that, but should be some more fun stuff to cover as the year goes on. We'll see you guys then. Peace.
Peace.